I currently have a current passport, and I've been trying to figure out how I can get back in there and change my status. And
Okay.
I might as well be looking for gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yeah, see, I guess that's one good thing is I've lived, and I'm getting old, so it was funny. I had a funny experience. I drove a tractor trailer for a while, and me and my wife parked on Liberty Park, if anybody knows where that is, in El Paso, Texas. So you cross over the Rainbow Bridge, and you wind up on Lincoln Avenue, believe it or not, Mexico, and Juarez. They got a huge mall down there with an ice skating rink. So my wife, I wanted to show her what it was like. So she never seen a mall with an ice skating rink. So as we were walking back over the bridge, the Border Patrol said, obviously he realized I was from America, he could tell. He says, sir, so where are you from? I said, where am I from? I said, well, I was from there, but now I'm here. He's like, yeah, okay, that's funny, but where are you from? I said, well, I'm going over there. Do you see that brown truck sitting out there in the parking lot, that tractor trailer? Yeah, that's my rig. I'm going to go back to work. He says, yes, sir, where are you from? And he's like, and he was playing 20 questions with me. He just kept saying, where are you from? So I said, well, before that, we were in Las Vegas, and before that, we were in Virginia. Before that, I lived in New York. I said, where are we going with this? How much do you really want to know from me? He says, sir, where are you from? And I started getting worried because the gate wasn't moving up. So I said to him, I'm from my mom, but then my dad. I was from my dad, but their dad came from Germany. And where are we going with this, sir? Open the gate. I want to get back over the border. He says, where are you from? I was like, can you give me a hint? He says, where are you from? So it's like, what's going on here? I started getting worried. Like, he wasn't going to let me back over. Like, what they run my, what do they think of me? And I was like, I don't know. So as soon until I said, United States, he says, welcome home, sir. So it's like, And this is what you people have got to be careful of, people. You hear all these people spouting about on this radio, on these shows. A citizen is literally, if you want to know the literal meaning of citizen in Roman times, it was a member of a family. That's what it is. It's a member of a family. So you see the Gambino crime family, or the Scrooge crime family, or the Gotti crime family. They're citizens. They all have certain duties to each other. So I am Karl Lentz, the family of Lentz. I have certain duties and obligations. I don't have pure rights within this family. I know as a dad, I know as a father, I know as a husband, as a brother, as a cousin, as a nephew. I have certain duties and obligations, responsibility that a lot of people depend on me to act accordingly to a certain manner. So this word citizen, I don't know how they twisted it. Maybe they twisted it to sell books or to get you guys into seminars or to get you guys to just hate the word citizen. But the word citizen is a member of a family. And unless you come from Venus or Mars or Martian, maybe they came out of a rock. And they don't want to claim that they came from a rock. But I'm very proud to claim that I came from the Lentzes and the Garners. I'm very proud of that fact that I'm a member of a family. Now, if I'm a citizen of my community, am I proud of my community? Well, yeah, sure. Do I have a certain social contract with my fellow beings when I walk out into the public, when I leave my domestic authority, and I enter into the public realm? Sure. I believe I should wear clothes. I believe I should not drive 900 miles an hour and give little ladies heart attacks. I believe I should not cause harm. I believe there's certain, understanding that there's other people on this planet other than me. So you guys got to stop being afraid of this word citizen and stop being afraid of saying that you're a U.S. citizen, because it's almost like, well, thank you for including me into your family. But right now I have an awful lot of family obligations. I got the Lentz family to take care of. I got the Garner family to take care of. Well, heck, I got the Virginia people to take care of. I got Rockbridge County. This is just too much of a burden. See, so you have the right that you could exercise to be a U.S. citizen. So this is what everybody has to realize. You have the right to exercise. You have certain rights that you could exercise. You don't have to always exercise your left leg. You don't always have to exercise your right leg. If you choose not to exercise your legs, because at this time it would not be any benefit. Because if I'm exercising my leg right now, some crazy lion's going to see me and eat me. So you know what, I better stand still. Because it would not be a benefit to me to claim, well, I got the right to move my leg, and that lion's got no right to eat me. Well, guess what? He's going to eat you. So if you see there's certain things where it would not be a benefit to claim being a U.S. citizen, well, then don't claim it. Like you said, it's really not nice to say that, well, can you do that with the IRS? Yeah, if you really don't believe there's a benefit. If you can't see the benefit, then you don't have to accept the benefit. If you believe, it's like, well, like my mom would say, well, who's going to pay for the little old ladies? Who's going to pay for the schools? Who's going to pay for the roads? If you don't join in and be a member of the United States family, who's going to help pay for all these wonderful, glorious things. Now, that's how she got through the day as being an IRS agent. That's how she was able to put her head on a pillow at night and go to sleep and think she did a good job for the day. If you want to be a member of this family, the United States citizen family, well, then put in your 2 cents and pay for the national debt. If you don't want to be a United States citizen, well, you know what? We can't force you. That's why I sent that YouTube video to everybody, that little 4-minute video where Harry Reid said, IRS is voluntary. He said it about 10 times to this poor guy, says the nice man like you, Mike, who just kept saying, well, wait a second. You'll put me in jail, you do this. And Harry Reid kept saying, it's voluntary. He said, but you do this, and he says, and Harry Reid's just like, yes, if you don't pay your taxes, you will go to jail. And then he said, but I thought he said it's voluntary. It is voluntary. Paying the IRS taxes is voluntary. And he couldn't understand that little magic in the word that was missing there. So when you folks watch that video a couple of times, like I said, hopefully, God willing, I'll be around for a while, and I'll tell you exactly what that man was missing. Because it's fun watching Harry Reid. It's like a magician. It's like, you guys have like seen a rabbit come out. The magician put a hat on a table. You've seen it was an empty hat. All of a sudden, he pulls a rabbit out. And you know there's no physical way he's going to shove a rabbit through that wooden table and pop it out of that hat. But you know you witnessed it. Like, damn, that's true. And then it's like somebody like me or Harry Reid's like, Carl, why are you showing the guy the trick? Let them experience the ride. Let them be amazed by, how did I get that rabbit out of the hat? How does Harry Reid say in one breath, if you don't pay your taxes, you're going to jail? And in the very next breath say, taxes are voluntary. All IRS taxes are voluntary in this country. How does he say that? It's not doublespeak. It's, you're not listening. You're not listening. That's the whole thing, is sleight of hand with the magician. You're not watching what he's doing. You're watching over here, he's misdirecting you. But what was his other hand doing? And then when they're doing a slow motion camera and Harry Reid shows you, here was the rabbit where I got the rabbit from, like, oh, you little trickster. You got me. All this is a learning experience for you guys. I'm just throwing you some simple things like write exempt, because you do have that option and they make it clearly established on the form. This is if you believe you're exempt, claim exempt. Okay, claim exempt. And when I tell folks when you claim exempt, make sure you make 2 copies. You keep the original and send off the copy. So then that way when you keep the original, yeah, you can get both of them notarized. So that way there's no doubt about it that you weren't playing hanky-panky and then you just came back later on and created your own new document. Create 2 documents on a W-4. When the boss asks you, hey, why do you want to modify your W-4 form? It's like, I want to change my dependency status. Like, oh, okay. Get a copy or get 2 copies or make one and then make the original copy. Highlight it in yellow where you wrote the word exempt, initial it, notarize it, and send it back to your boss. And the payroll department will then no longer deduct, money. What do you folks want to call money? Out of your checks. It's really just credits off your check, but you know what I mean. I'm not going to get into semantics. You guys all get paid credits. It goes into an account which is credited, and you use a debit credit card, and then you buy goods and services. Nobody ever sees green paper anymore, but I don't want to get into that silly nonsense. It's all silly. It's a lovely system. It keeps the economy flowing. Instead of people carrying 10 tons of gold in their back pocket or 10 tons of silver, I'd rather have a piece of plastic and just swipe it and get on my day. So, but the citizen status with the passport, like I said, I gave that on an example on Angela's show. If the Palestinians took over Al Jazeera Airlines, and all of a sudden they said all Americans come forward so we could kill you, of course you're going to see there's no benefit of showing you the U.S. passport, and you're going to start speaking French and say parlez-vous français, or, je vis joint votre puis mettez contre. You're going to go off on them in French somewhere. You're not going to speak English. You're not going to be claiming your United States citizen status at that point in time. But I'm telling you, if all of a sudden you were in a foreign country and you were right next to the U.S. Embassy and all these crazy bastards start slaughtering all of their citizens, all the Syrian citizens or Libyan citizens going down the street, you're going to be pounding on the U.S. Embassy door and say, let me in, let me in. You say, nope, all the U.S. citizens. Well, here's my U.S. citizen card. Now it's a benefit. I'm coming on in. They'll say, well, welcome home, sir. We'll protect you. You're our family. So you got to stop. You got to understand, a citizen just means a member of a family. It doesn't mean some sort of zombie. You can just say at any time when somebody says, are you a U.S. citizen, if you don't feel it's a benefit at that time, just say, no. You say, do you feel like exercising your right to move your left leg at this time? No, I don't feel like exercising. Did you just lie because you said, do you feel like exercising your left leg? No, I don't feel like exercising my left leg. Do I feel like exercising the right to claim to be a U.S. citizen at this time? No. That's it. You didn't lie. It's the trick of the words. It's what Harry Reid said. And I'm not going to just give you guys the riddle, man. It's simple. You just got to watch the words. If you can't actually visualize the words, like when I talked to Dean Clifford one time, and I said, look, Dean, you have to stop using their codes. You have to stop relying upon their cases and their rules and their precedent to establish your rights and your claim. You're using somebody else's property, and you're trying to claim it as yours. You can compare your claim to things that they've seen and they've related to in the past, in which they're consciously aware of that exist, to establish the fact of your claim. And that's what I'm trying to say to you folks. It's all in the words. So when you can actually start seeing the words and not just hearing the words, it'll all make a lot more sense. So why would you want to change the status of a passport when at one time it would be a benefit to use it? It's the same thing with getting a driver's license and a traffic ticket. So the court is presuming and assuming that you were operating under a driver's license at the time that a man was traveling across the planet. They presumed you were operating under that title. They presumed you were operating underneath that status. That's a bad presumption on their part, and an assumption, because an assumption is going to cost them. A presumption is just an error in guessing something. Assumption is now they're going to be held liable for monetary damages. So that's when I correct people on assumption and presumption. One costs you money, and one is just a boo-boo. When they assume something improperly, well, I'm going to claim damages. So most time I just say to them, okay, you just presumed it. I don't say, okay, now you presumed and assumed, because now I'm going to hold you liable for that mistake. But you just dragged my ass in the court one more time, and you just took my truck one more time, and I had enough of this nonsense. You presumed that I was operating underneath this driver's license. No. I was traveling across the planet in any conveyance as long as I caused no harm to any man. Is any woman coming here saying I was doing 90 miles an hour and gave her a heart attack? No. Do you have any verifiable claim now before this court? No. So you invoke the common law to defend yourself. If we lived in France, I say to people a million times, some lady from Canada called me up the other day. I said, what province are you in? And as soon as she told me that she was in New Brunswick, I said, good. I said, you're not in Quebec, right? I said, because this nonsense I'm saying is not going to work in Quebec. I said, but it will work. And I said, do you have a high court there, or do you have a Queen's bench there, and do you have Chancery? Which one? She says, okay, we have the Queen's bench and Chancery, but not the high court. I said, okay, so you're not operating like the Irish and in a republic. You're operating still through the English common law. And she said, yes. I said, good. This is what you need to do. So when people heard me answering, I was telling him, they have forms and fill out these forms. And they're like, well, Carl, that's completely opposite what you tell Americans. It's like, that's right. We don't have to go by their forms. That's their administrative code policy. But when you're under English common law, the English common law has things called like rebuttals, and they have things called you make a rebuttal to somebody, and then they come back and they're like a tea party. They're like, oh, let's volley this over here, and they'll make a demur. They'll make a demur, then there's another rebuttal, another demur. It's very lovely and cordial. Here, it's done like lightning. You make a claim and you're done. So she said they really don't want to accept the American process here in New Brunswick. I said, that's right, ma'am. I understand. So fill out their forms, but put it on there that you are submitting to their forms, you're like a slave to their forms for ease of the clerk of court's filing practices only, and that you want to move your claim before the jury. I said, because in England and Canada, the jury people, that's the judges. The people in the black robes are the magistrates up there. See, for some reason, we call the folks in the black robes judges here. In the rest of the common law world, they're called magistrates. For some reason, we call them judges. I think they just did that to be funny to us. In the rest of the English common law world, the folks sitting in the jury, they're the judges. So when you always hear this phrase, only God and jury judges me, I'm only judged by God and country. Well, country means the jury. Country means the people, the land, because that's where the people come from. The people come from the land. I come from the land. My mom had to eat fruits and vegetables that were grown from the earth, that were grown from this land. When my mom ate the fruits and vegetables, she produced me. My mom and dad joined together in a merger. When they incorporated, the product was me. So if you want to talk about a man as a corporation, oh, well, you betcha. He's a full and complete body. You better believe it. Was there a merger between two consenting individuals, persons? Yeah. So in theory, really, like these people say, oh, corporation is an ugly, evil word. No. If you look at it technically, it's actually what your mom and dad did. So like I said, when you eat from the ground, when you eat the food, you are part of the land. We did not come from sprinkled fairy dust. We did not come from stardust. We came from what our parents found on the ground, and they ate it. So without the ground producing us or producing food for our parents to eat, we come from the ground. We are the land. So all these King Arthur movies you see where they're saying, the king and the land are one. It's not the king and the green grass. It's the king and his people are one. And the king or the queen of England is supposed to be the representative of all what is good and great in man. That's why they put on all these costumes on their kings and queens, because they want to show that's what's all regal and good in the nature of man. Because the queen is supposed to be subject to her subjects, and the subjects are supposed to provide for their king or queen. It's like, wow, we get to take care of a queen. Yay, we get to take care of a king. Hooray. That's the reflection of the people, how proud we are, how strong we are, how mighty we are. So it's a good balance they got over there. So I have no problem talking to folks from Ireland or England or Australia and Canada, and I have no problem dealing with Americans. So like I said, this man was trying to tell you get rid of the status of the passport. Why? When it's such a beneficial thing, and it's not going to be able to trap you in this country under any sort of code or regulation or anything, because when all you have to do is throw the Trump card out at them and say, well, you know what? I'm going to have to throw the common law card down, and I'm going to have to declare this a court of record. And I'm telling you, if you go to any federal district court, they will tell you that this is a court of record. Now, the clerk behind the window, she just works for $5 an hour. She don't really know what a court of record is. You could whip out any book, and it says, Black's Law Dictionary, 2004. This isn't from 1776. This is 2004. Clearly says, only, moves on to the common law. So the lady at the window just told you, yes, this is a court of record. So, oh, good, lovely. And you know you're only in a common law court. And there you go. Now, the person who's prosecuting the claim on behalf of the prosecutor for the United States government, they probably don't know what a court of record is. I'm telling you, but the judge does. The judges do, and you just got to know how to hold your own in court, and you'll do all right. So, was that pretty good for you, Mr. Mike? Hello, Mike. Well, let me give you the destry here.
Hey, yeah. I've been listening for a while. I've got a little different approach I've been using. I've been using either international venue or I'll shut down the court. In fact, I made a judge run right out of the courtroom by using the IRS manual 21.7.13.3.2.2. What that is it shows the requirement for the estate is the Social Security number of the decedent. Now, in that same section, it states that an infant is a decedent until it receives a Social Security number. Now, that means if I combine the name and the number that vests within the infant, is it any longer a decedent? No. Article 55 of the Hague granted the occupying army called the Bar jurisdiction over the paper world only back in 1776. They have been allowing their paper world to spill over into the real world, causing us real world injury. This is what's going on today. We're all under a presumption of being dead. If we were to remove that presumption, this entire de facto system that is in place would be perfectly fine because it would have no jurisdiction over anybody that walks on the land. I brought that up in front of a judge here in the county I live in. He ran out of the courtroom, and I was mailed a letter to never enter that courthouse again.
Okay, well, are you complaining that they don't want you to enter back in, so they're interfering with your right to access the court, or are you just glad you never have to go again?
I just ignored the letter. I'll go in there and make a mess out of his court every time something's going on I don't like.
Yeah, see, because people don't understand is when you go into that court, nobody can tell you they can or cannot do it. It's like going into a public library. Just because you're in a shower and shave and you smell like a possum doesn't mean that.
Yeah, I am the superior court. Bottom line.
Well, what do you mean by superior court?
I am a king in my creator's image. There is nobody between me and him.
Okay.
That makes me the superior court.
Okay. And why were you in that court in the first place? I mean, were you charged with a crime or something? What was the reason why you were there?
Actually, it was for a show cause, for a reason why I didn't show up to a parenting class over a divorce.
I'm saying, what were you charged with? What was the reason that having intercourse with these folks at all? What was the purpose? Why did they do it? Why are you there?
I was not charged. I had went through a divorce. I filed a certificate of divorce on my ex into their record. So they opened up a divorce case over it.
Okay. And did you already have a prior judgment from another court?
No.
So this was the initial filing of a divorce?
Yes, it was to be entered into record, and they turned it into a court case.
Okay. And was there some sort of a filing fee?
No.
Okay. So what was it, a county court, state court? What kind of court was it? I mean, give me a little work here. How did this thing work? I just want to tell people just run in there and start screaming what you just said. They need to know a little more background. So you got the floor, believe me, buddy. I got enough talking in one day for me. So
see, let me lead up to that one. Every court you know of is nothing but a probate court. They may say circuit, they may say district, but they're nothing but a probate court. Like I said, they're granted jurisdiction in the paper world only. They only have power over the dead.
Okay, well, can we concentrate on what actually worked for you? Like, what court did you actually go to? Like, can you tell us the county and the name? Can you tell us what you did so we could try to follow along?
It was my county, Crawford County, and it was a district court.
Okay, and it was just a local district court. Did they have the capacity to see the jury there?
Oh, yes.
Okay, I don't know, because down here where I live, you got to go to circuit court upstairs to seat the jury. So some district courts are just for minor, where you just go talk to the magistrate or a judge, and then if you have a major issue and you actually want to go before a jury, you have to take it over the circuit upstairs or downstairs. So your district court encapsulates both capacities of holding a jury trial if you wished.
Yes.
Good. Okay. So that's making it clear for me. Okay, what were you in? So what did you file before the clerk court? What did you hand her?
I handed her a common law certificate of divorce that I handed my ex.
Okay, where did you find this common law court certificate?
I created it.
Okay, and what did it basically say?
It says that any and all ties to divorce are dissolved, and I threw in the Catholic New Advent, where it states in there that when a spouse creates adultery, that she is automatically forfeits any and all rights to claim in property and children.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, some guys might actually enjoy their wife committing adultery, but you didn't. Okay, that's fine. That makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is, did you send this letter now? You're saying you sent this letter to the ex-wife, or the ex-wife to be, right?
Yeah, as it states in the Bible, to hand a certificate of divorce to your wife.
Okay, that's fine. No, I got no problem. Whatever works for you, that's fine. And then you did send it to her registered or certified. How did you have proof of service to her? Did you have somebody hand it to her? Did she acknowledge the delivery of the document?
I just hand delivered it.
Okay, and did you have any third-party impartial witness that you brought along with you that could verify in open court under oath of affirmation that she was duly served?
Oh, I had two witnesses.
Hey, Charles, Greg.
Good. Hey, Greg, how you doing? This is Mr.
I'm
Chicago.
okay. This thing keeps muting me.
Oh, yeah. I'll mute you for 2 seconds there, Greg. This guy's telling a good story. I finally got a good guy who's going around and explaining things. I like this. I don't like to be the guy explaining everything. So here, Greg, let me just mute you out a second there, buddy. I don't mean to do that, but let me let this guy get going, just in case you have an event in your house. So yeah, Mr. Destry. Hey, what's your name, Mr. Destry?
Destry, that's my first name.
Oh, okay. My name's Carl, and good talking to you, man. I'm glad when somebody can go around. But this is what I want to say. I want to take it slow because we got plenty of time. So, and I got plenty of minutes on these shoes are free. So I want people to see exactly what you did, which sounds really good right now. I really like it. So you had witnesses along with you, see, so that's why I brought that up, because you failed to mention it, which is very important. When you want to properly serve somebody, it's good to bring a third-party impartial witness. It's not really good to bring your brother and your sister. It's better to serve somebody out in the open public, like at a Burger King or something like that. Say, hey, you've been served. And you say to the lady behind the counter, what's your name? Susie? Okay, Susie, do you see me just hand that person? Yeah, okay, thank you. Just in case I need you for court one day. That makes it a third-party impartial witness. Yeah. Because it's better than bringing your brothers and sisters, believe me. Because if you don't have a third-party impartial witness, like at the O.J. Simpson trial, they can't prove that he did anything wrong. So Marshall Clark's $10 billion worth of evidence all went up in smoke because there wasn't a third-party impartial witness. That's what I'm trying to tell folks. Your method is good so far. I like it. Make sure you bring it. But if you forgot to tell them, bring a third-party impartial witness. So you served this upon this lady. Okay, I like that. And then where did you go with your documents? How many copies did you make?
Well, I had myself a copy for the public record, a copy for her. That's all I needed. I'm not operating under de facto rules. I operate under the common law.
What public document, where were you going to place this public document?
That would be in county courthouse, the Register of Deeds office, and have a Lieber number and a page number attached to it.
Okay. Was there a reason why you didn't also make a copy go over to Vital Statistics?
I didn't have contracts with Vital Statistics.
Okay, let me. I'm thinking where I'm living. Where you live, where do they keep the records of the marriage licenses?
That would be in the Register of Deeds office.
There you go. That's all I'm trying to say. So sorry about saying Vital Statistics, because that might be your branch of Vital Statistics. They call it the Deeds office. So you sent it to the proper people that were holding that license at, you sent it at the proper place, you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Why in the world, then, did you believe that you had to go to a district court if you had it already perfected your process?
Well, this private company, Pirateer Court, decided they wanted to make some money off this deal, so they yanked it out of the public record and created a divorce case over it.
Okay, who was the moving party?
They listed me as plaintiff.
Okay, well, who filed a claim on your behalf?
The judge.
The judge is named Bob?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just throwing a name, Bob. So Bob did something without your consent.
Yes, he represented me behind the bench.
Okay, not represented you. No, not represent you. Bob did something with your property.
Yeah, without or contract.
He decided to take your property and convert it to something for her benefit.
Yeah.
Did you send her basically a letter that says, please cease and desist and put that right back where you found it, and please don't ever touch it again and engage and interfere with the intercourse between me and anything else within this universe?
Yeah, something like that. It was called a challenge of jurisdiction. That was quite a few pages long.
You could have just done it based on one sentence. If you're trying to administrate my property and you have no right, if you claim you have such right, please state it. If you fail to state it, and you continue to move without my consent, I'm going to demand compensation of you, Susie, who's also a woman, who just happens to be a judge, for administrating my property without right. I'm going to demand compensation of $10,000 if I hear any more of this matter in the public. I'm trying to get everybody down to one page, one sentence, done, and get these clowns off our backs. But I liked everything you did, except that you said it was a couple of pages. Everything could be done in one sentence or two sentences, but you watch all these trials on TV, and the judge always says, guilty, 15 to 20 years, take him away. That's it. He made his order in one sentence. You go to McDonald's, you make your order in one sentence. You don't give the guy at McDonald's a two-page sonnet about, what it takes for a quality hamburger and that you'll accept, and you got to hold a pickle.
Yeah, it's just like my class says, keep it simple, stupid.
Right, keep it super simple. And I know Rod Class's stuff, and Rod Class is where I was a couple of years ago with his silly 1983 claim nonsense. I recognize your voice now. That's right. Hey, how you doing? Are you in North Carolina too?
Michigan.
Oh, Michigan. Okay.
I'm up here with Karl Miller.
Yeah, because Rod, I believe, is in North Carolina. So, I heard he was doing a traffic court case with a blue light, and boy, he sure put some ton of documents, and it was a very simple case. All he had to say, let's just do Rod Class for fun. And you don't even have to use Rod Class's name. There's just anybody. Somebody's making a claim that I got a purple light, red light, blue light, whatever the hell I got in my Jeep. And so I get stopped because I got a tail light that's out. So a policeman sees that I got a light on my dashboard that does not comply with his little funny code book. He says, hey, only policemen can have that blue light on dashboards. What are you doing with it? There's a light dashboard. I always wondered what that thing was. I don't know. That's part of the manufacturer's original equipment. He's like, no, it wasn't. You put it there. It's like, did you see me? Did you see me put it on the dashboard? Do you have any third-party impartial competent witness who will verify in open court on the oath of affirmation that didn't come originally with the Jeep when I bought it? Hell, I always thought it was part of the dashboard. Hell, I didn't know. This is the first time I bought a Jeep. I thought all Jeeps had them. There you go. Now, is anybody claiming that by me having this light on my dashboard is causing any direct harm? No. Well, when that claim comes forward, I'll be more than glad to compensate the man for causing her harm and doing him any wrong. Now, I could do that all boom, 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 that fast in less than one page. I'm sure when he went to that traffic court the other day, he put in 10,000 documents, and the judge said, denied. You're guilty. Next case. Pay the $50. Next case.
Yeah, one way to keep it simple, stupid, doing up a document, I haven't done it yet, but I'm planning on it here shortly, is all you got to do is put on this document under IRS Manual 21.7.13.3.2.2, the infant has a Social Security number and a name vested within. With this, how the hell can you hold a maritime lien against the estate?
Did you hear?
You are in violation of contract under Article 55 of the Hague and Libra Codes 2 through 38. This needs to be immediately dismissed, and that's all your paper needs to show.
Did you hear what I said just a little while ago when I did that in court? I had this beautiful, beautiful motion before the court. All these wonderful codes, Alabama codes I was using. All these wonderful, and they were all giggling. And they were like, yeah, we all read your code, and we'd seen it coming, so you know what? Honestly, we flipped all the codes around. You know, we just enacted an amendment to the code. And what you just described is that you have a venereal disease based upon Agent Oris, and now you can't copulate with your wife anymore, and you're claiming damages. It's like, what? That's what Alabama Code 36.1, this 1-5, or this 1 subsection EF means? Yeah. We knew you were coming. We just did that for a laugh because you were going to sue us for $1 gazillion. I said, wait a second. That's not what I read. You know, when I wrote this thing, it said we amended it on January 1st, stroke of midnight. Ha-ha, now you look like a clown. So if you want to come in, you got to understand, they're allowed to modify and amend their codes at will. So you can come in screaming this stuff, and they changed it on you. You know this is the year that the federal rules of civil procedure get changed, right? You know every 7 years they get changed, right?
Well, yeah, they have copyright on it. They can do whatever they want with it.
So that all the federal rules of civil procedure are being changed this year. Now they could take rule number 5, where all parties must have documents under Rule 5A, or all parties must have access to the court and must have all the paper within the docket, in the case file before the docket, and they could switch that to be a Rule 12, where Rule 12 basically says how you answer a claim. So now you're screaming 5A, 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 and they're like, whoa, dude, we moved those over to 12. But they're not going to tell you they moved them over to 12. You're just going to look silly. So I say to people, there is nothing wrong with just going into a court and just saying, you had no right to administrate my property, and by doing so, you've caused me harm. And I want compensation, or you leave my property as it be, as it lie. Don't pick it up and don't touch it. It has nothing to do with you. Don't cause a controversy in the public where one did not exist. I settle this on a private matter, I'm done. I already got a foreign jurisdiction, the judgment in a foreign jurisdiction established. I don't need it in a public venue. Thank you anyway. And be done. Now, can you scream this, the Libra Code of 17 and say, oh, yeah, it's fun hearing what you did, and if you want to say it again, really slow, so if somebody wants to listen to the show, please go right ahead and do it again. The people who might like your belief and style, and please just say it really slow, and go ahead. You got the floor. Do it.
Yeah. These courts are operating under the IRS master file. If you ask them if they're a private company, they say, yes, they are. Now that they're operating under a private company, they're under the IRS master file. In that IRS master file, that whole book has nothing to do with human beings except for one little section that is states for vaccines. The rest of it is all about the decedent. Use that code against them. That's in their book. To prove you're alive.
Tell them what a decedent is.
Oh, a decedent is an infant that does not have a Social Security number.
Okay.
So when you combine that Social Security number and your name, what do you get? You get a driver's license. That driver's license, by all means, should be a card that says, do not mess with me, I'm alive.
Okay, can you give everybody that code that you were relying upon, that really fast code? You whipped that at the end?
21.7.13.2.2.
There you go. And where could they find that? Like under what act?
You can go right into IRS website, right into their manual.
IRS.gov, IRS.org?
IRS.gov.
Okay, that's fine. Well, people who are really interested in that might help them a little bit. Like I said, you folks have to, well, I don't have to. I'm saying you folks have to learn like what this man is saying, and it's nice to know admiralty law. It's nice to know the merchant law. I went around with Mark Stevens on his show about statute staples. because he was claiming that under the common law, you have to settle a tax debt first. I said, no, that's merchant law statute staple. I said, you're confusing them. Under the common law, you do not have to settle your debt. You bring it before a jury, and you let the jury determine whether or not there's a debt due, and they will give you due process, and they will process your debt. They will tell you what is due, what you are due. That's due process. So, no, that's good. Like I said, this is how I learned. This is how I got to be where I am, by learning what you've learned. And I just put all these pieces of the puzzle together, and I said, what works for me? Now, I know what works for me is 1-2 sentences, and I'm done. If this works for you, well, God bless you. And like I said, if it seems like it's not working for you, all I'm trying to say is, well, I remember what that guy Karl said. And I just tried this IRS thing on this judge, and he's not jumping off the bench. You know what? I think I'm going to throw the old Trump card down and see if Karl's nonsense works. That's all I'm doing for you folks. You guys do it the way you're comfortable with and the way you've been doing for 10, 20, 30 years. And you say, you know, this ain't working. You know what? I'm going to throw the old Trump card down, and I'm going to claim I'm a man. And I'm going to move this court to the right side of the court. And I'm going to say, you know what? Is this still the United States of America? Yeah, good. I'm going to have to convert this court into a common law court and drag it over to the right side of the court so a man can be heard. And there you go. And then the judge was like, damn, he threw the old Trump card down. Damn, we're having so much fun with this guy. But no, keep going up the way you guys going. It's fine. But like I said, if your back's up against the wall and the way you tried it didn't work, you just come in, and like I say, the people who say, like I told you about the little old lady revoking her agreement with the IRS and just rescinding the contract because it's no longer beneficial to intercourse in this manner because I don't see any benefit on my behalf. And in my best interest, I'm going to have to withdraw my consent to this agreement and contract that we had together for 40, 50 years. I'm sorry, but it is no longer being beneficial. And actually, it's causing me great stress and harm. And I know you good, lovely government people weren't created to be this cause of stress or harm to any man. Now were you? There you go. Now please leave me be.
For those of you out there who are more interested in this, I own MichiganCalmInLaw.com. Michigan Common Law is one word. And right on the front page, I've got the 4 videos that describe everything about the infant status.
Okay, that's great. Well, because I just started to laugh a little bit because this is a great point. Everybody just heard you say IRS code, blah, 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 and common law in the same breath. And this is great that you said that because this is what I try to tell everybody. The IRS is common law. Traffic court is common law. It's common to those people that practice it every day. This is what they do. This is common to them, to their organization, to their monster, to their creation, to their agency, to their corporation. This is what's common beliefs to them. So when you're walking into their courtroom and you're trying to use what you believe is your common beliefs, and they have their set of rules and what they believe is the common every day-to-day process, you're throwing a monkey wrench into their works. And they're like, hey, what's this guy doing? We don't commonly do this every day, do we, folks? No. What the hell's this guy pulling? Can't you just do what everybody else is doing? And when you're the defendant, you have to do what the rules are established for your role as the defendant in their play, in their procedure, in their code. You're taking on a role. So you could say, well, you know what? Honestly, I don't want to be the defendant. Honestly, you know what? I want to establish my own claim. I'm going to move my own court into this public building. It's public. Yes, I know. 9 to 5. It's controlled by a private monopoly bar association of society. You are monopolizing this space of this public building that my great-grandfather built and your grandparents built and my dad built and her dad built. It's a public building, like a public library. This is not a private building. You do not build this with private funds. This is public. I'm allowed to access this court, put any paper before this court, and have this heard within the people of my community at any time because court is open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So people have to realize just because they try to keep the bar members only accessing that public court, it's the same thing they try to do in public libraries. They would rather see their public library filled with people with suit and ties and dresses and high heels and slacks than bums and homeless people and people from the shelters just taken into the air conditioning in the summertime or the heat in the wintertime. They don't want the common scrounge people in a public library. And they try to discourage the homeless people as best as they can from accessing that public building. But the homeless have just as much right to be in that public library as anybody who's wearing a 3-piece suit and a tie. and this is what Tom Murphy, yes, you guys might not like what he talks about in the Clean Water Act, that's fine. But Tom Murphy and that Janet Marie folks, they got a good thing going. I'm trying to get them stepped up a gear. You folks are going to have to go to your county commissioners and say, we're going to need access to this public court building for 1 hour a week. We're not getting our common law matters heard. They're starting to stack up. We're getting a lot of people who need a common law remedy, and these bar members are not providing one, allowing us to conduct business here in this public building. So Janet Marie said, well, my local county court closes from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock every day for lunch. I said, well, good. Make a proposal to the county commissioner that from 12:15 to 12:45, you're going to have common law hearings or procedures or trials, and then at 1 o'clock, when the court clerk comes back, you're going to hand her rulings to put in the vault, placed on a public record for you. So try that. You guys got to get your foot in the door and just maybe get a half an hour of access to a public building. That way the county commissioner can't cry, oh, well, look at all the expenses for air conditioning and lighting and, oh, all the heating expenses. Oh, we can't keep that building open 24/7. Well, like certain cities like New York, night court goes on 24 hours, 7 days a week. They never shut the courts down. So I say to them, well, then just your little county court, just see if you can establish a common law proceedings, because for some reason the man in the black robe doesn't want to hear common law. For some reason he's so gung-ho on administrative law. He doesn't want to deal with anything other than the code of Florida, the code of Michigan, the code of Virginia. He doesn't want to deal with anything else other than that.
I got something to add to that about the man in the black robe.
Yeah, go for it.
Whether most people realize it or not, but that man in the black robe has taken a secret Jesuit oath. He is a Jesuit priest. That's why he wears robes drenched in the blood of his victims. Now,
okay.
Guess number two says there's nowhere it says that an infant is a decedent. If you go down in that section that I put out there, part 2, at the second point, it says an infant is a decedent of an estate or grantor, owner, or truster of a trust, guardianship, receivership, or custodianship that has yet to receive a Social Security number.
And we could find this in a code, or we could find this in an act, or we can find this in an administrative policy. Well, where are we finding this now that you're uttering this from?
You can go right into IRS.gov and get it right out of their site, and I also got the page copied over into my website.
Okay, and this is good. I'm glad I finally got somebody who goes in an opposite direction with me, because I like it, because we're getting along and nobody's cursing at nobody. But listen, this is what I try to say, folks. If you're really interested in this man's got to say, it sounds like a lot of lovely information, and he did a lot of research, and go for it. Read it and study it. Because my solution to that would be is I did not write that code. You cannot bind me by that code. I have no idea what the word infant means to you in that definition, because you're not the creator of that code. I'm not the creator of the code, and we're already guessing what the word infant means in that sentence. So until we have the creator of that code standing here in open court under oath of affirmation telling us what that word infant truly means, there's no way to judge it, because we don't have the capacity to interpret something that somebody has created. So like I said, that's why our public laws are codified by a Canadian publishing company. That way, if the code is in error, who are we going to sue? We're going to go find a publishing company up in Canada and say, that's not what the public law says. Holy cow, how did you get it so wrong? Do you understand what kind of damage that codification of the code, your interpretation of the public law, what kind of harm and damage it has caused in my life? And what do you think the Canadian public company is going to say? Sue us. Where am I going to sue them? In the UN? Where am I going to sue them? They're not stupid. They know exactly that the long arm of the law can't reach and get them. So, but thank you. What was your name? Destry?
Yeah, Destry. I got a little more something else on a different venue there that I go after them sometimes on. I have removed my UCC legal entity into a trust in Belize, and I can operate an international venue and literally go through the American consulate to deal with these courts. I've done that on one ticket, and I shut them right down. I had the Bay County Corporation Council. The courts couldn't handle the paperwork I turned in on the international venue. They turned it over to their corporation council, and I had wrote them a real nice get lost letter to the international venue, and that thing disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Okay, again, like I said, that's great. I mean, if this works for you, I mean, if you want to, we'll do this another day, man. If my email, can you read the board? I'll give you my email address. And if you really think, we'll do an episode on UCC. Me, it's private law. Me, I have no right to use it or interpret it for any of my processes. But if it just worked for you, well, hell, that's great. So that'd be a good show just to go around and around with you at UCC. I love the UCC. It's all based on merchant law. It's all based on the Bible, the Old Testament stuff. I'm down with it. So
you're absolutely right, though, about not wanting to use it, because any of the statutes, rules, and regulations that you do use, they can come back onto you for a trespass.
Oh, yeah, because it's all trademarked, incorporated, registered, and everything. We have no right. So what I tell people, this is what I do. I create my document, and then I use that little CF, which means compare that with, and I put in the four-corner brackets, compare that with UCC 3501, 503, and 507, dishonorment of, proposal, offer, dishonor, fail to, honor the presentment, blah, blah, blah. But you compare your stuff with their stuff, but you put it in a box. You isolate it from the rest of your documents, so that way it has no, they can't bind you to it like, oh, you just incorporated our stuff, and we're going to get you for incorporating a trademark and regulated and all this other nonsense. So when you write your documents, make sure when you put your simple belief, say, I made this man an offer. This man did not respond back to me in an acceptable amount of time. I believe that this man is dishonoring my presentment, and I believe that he's going to try to stick me with the bill, and he's not going to tender payment, in which he knows is due. And that at this time, I'm going to claim that the debt is due, and I don't want to hear no more further on this matter, and I'm going to lien his property. And when you go to the county recorder, you register as the county recorder. The man's going to be given due notice that his property is going to be liened. He's got 21 days to come to a public court and make a claim that his property should not be liened and that you have filed a false claim against a debt that's due.
Yeah, that would be you generating a contract and forcing him to adhere to it.
What you could do then is you say, see Exhibit A, and then you could attach UCC 3-501, 503, and 507. There you go. And say, this is the process in which I'm relying upon. But you put it in your simple terms, because every case is case-specific and every case is not case-specific. Every case you have your own problems with a certain party, but it's been heard millions of times. This isn't nothing new. So what you're doing is you're making your case-specific claim, and you're relying upon a certain established practice, UCC 3-501, 503, 507, to support your claim. You see what I'm saying? You just don't go UCC. You just don't start mixing your paperwork up with all kinds of crazy codes. And now I'm going to put a little merchant code here. Now I'm going to put a little UCC code. Now I'm going to put a little IRS tax code. And I'm going to put it all on a piece of paper. No, you make your simple common law claim, and you attach UCC as Exhibit A. You use the IRS code Exhibit B. You use Admiralty code Exhibit C. That way, if your exhibits fail, or the judge just last year, and you say, well, you can't support that, it's just an exhibit. Your whole document doesn't collapse. Your claim is always going to stand true. But your exhibits might fall in the face. They could change the code on you tomorrow, and UCC 3-501 switches over to, it goes over to negotiable insurance to securities. If you go over to UCC under Title IX, then what do you do?
There isn't another way around all that instead of going all that route. When you receive a citation or summons, whatever, you just take your paperwork right down to the closest railroad, find out who their insurance company is, and file a claim with their insurance, because all the railroads own all the land, the rights to it within 20 miles of the rail. They're the ones that installed all the towns, installed all the courts, all the sheriffs, and the purpose of that was to keep firewood, water, all handy for the trains when they come through. 6 major railroad families own everything. They own the mineral rights in your car.
Well, that's what's good about you calling up, Mr. Destry, is because you are throwing a whole new spin on this that nobody's ever heard of. I've never heard that. I mean, I know how the railroads had 20 miles of here and there, but there's many, many counties that have no tracks. And federal jurisdiction has to be in a county that has a railroad track or a municipal airport or an interstate highway, or the feds have no authority within that county. That I know. There's a very few counties in this country that don't have either railroad tracks or an interstate going through it or a municipal airport. So that's good that you threw that out there if people want to look at it that way. But like I said, if all the stuff is nice that we talk about, UCC, negotiable instruments, security instruments, and all that other stuff, securities, securitization of debt, that's fun. But like I said, when you guys get into a pickle and you realize, well, God bless America, we still live in America. Thank God for the common law. Hell, I'm just dragging this shit over to the common law. I'm done. But you have to master all these other things. It's fun. It's better than watching Dancing with the Stars. You know what you're saying, Mr. Destry. I totally, that's great. I can see that you're actually spending time researching stuff. Now, whether you're right or wrong, who gives a who cares? At least you're doing something other than just watching Dancing with the Stars getting drunk.
Well, if you go back into 1975, or 1795, Cruden versus Neal, Supreme Court unanimous ruling stated that every man is independent of all laws and not bound by any institutions formed by his fellow men without his consent.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, see, because we're doing point counterpoint. This is what I talked to Mr. Constitution Man back in August. I said, clearly, Barack Obama's going to win in November. What's going to happen is there is 5 Catholics and 4 Jewish people on the Supreme Court. 2 of the Catholics are going to retire. He's going to put 2 more liberals on the bench, or a Catholic liberal, like that last, Spanish lady put on. So what's going to happen is, there's a great case that you decided 1795. What's going to happen, if the court chooses, they could hear every major case over the last 230, 40 years of this United States government's history, and they could overturn them all. So everything that we're using as precedent is going to be null. We're going to put it all on our documents and paperwork. And Mr. Constitution Man said, you know what, we need you to go to the Supreme Court and fight for us then. I said, no way. Because the Supreme Court is just the Supreme Court of the United States government, not of the people that inhabit the land. It is the checks and balance of if the president steps out of line or the Congress steps out of line, the Supreme Court is supposed to have a happy balance between those 2 fighting families, the 2 fighting parties. The Supreme Court is not battling us, the people. It's keeping the executive branch from stepping on the legislative branch and the legislative from stepping on the executive branch. It's the court of the government of the United States. It's the United States Supreme Court. There you go. So you folks have to realize the United States Supreme Court makes the rulings how the government should operate, not how man should operate. There you go.
Now,
so
here's another one. This is not from Supreme Court of the United States Supreme Court. This is from the Supreme Court of the United States, separate court. This one's from 1795, Penhallow versus Owens Administrators. Defines governments. Governments are corporations. As much as every government is an artificial person, an abstraction, and a creature of the mind only, a government can only interface with other artificial persons.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you brought that up because, again, you're giving me an opinion of some Supreme Court justices that lived in 1795. The only problem with that is because we like how that was read. We actually like that person who wrote it. What happened by the time Barack Obama leaves, he puts 2 Hillary Clintons on the United States Supreme Court. And now she's going to make the rulings for the Supreme Court for all time how the United States people are supposed to live. How are we going to feel citing her? Do you think I want to cite an opinion by Hillary Clinton on how I should carry out eugenics with injured child in my family because they said, well, he's 3 years old and he still doesn't know how to talk, so, we declared that, he's to be, euthanized. Like, hey, well, grandma's got a broken hip and she's 80 and we don't want to pay for it no more, so Obamacare claims that it's the supreme law of the land and everybody gets, euthanized. So like I said, just because this was a beautiful opinion that we just happen to love, it sounds really Yankee Doodle and patriotic and rah-rah-rah. When they throw the Hillary Clintons in charge and making our opinions, are we going to still say rah-rah-rah for the Supreme Court rulings? So this is what I'm saying. It's nice that these folks give us a roadmap to show us, wow, these were some really good people, and I wish I could be as great as that person who wrote that thing in 1795. What an inspiration. I'm going to try to live my life to those ethics and ideals that's incorporated in that document, preserved for all time. What a glorious piece of paper. That's right. What we have to do with what we got at this point in time. So we might have to adapt to it. And we might have to say, look, that was great for what happened here, but do you realize we got like the UN knocking on our door? Do you realize we got like the Chinese who are going to come in with the North Koreans or something? Do you realize we got like Mexicans flooding our border? These people weren't dealing with this. They were dealing with cowboys and Indians, or they were dealing with, the French coming over. They fought a different style. They came right at you or whatever. The Indians fought a different way. We're in a different battle in 2013. So it's nice to look at the game plan and see how they organize their societies and what worked and what didn't work for them. God bless them that they put it down in writing so we could refer back to it. But like I said, can we hold it as and force somebody else to believe it, like force the judge to believe it or force the government to believe it? No. So we have to make a claim when they step across the line and trespass upon our rights, and trespass upon our property. And that's the only thing we could do. We got to get them before a trial by jury. And that's why I said that, Tom, and I hope a lot more people try to understand. We have to get a court established in local counties, not federal courts, not international courts, not courts of the galaxy, but local county courts, because everybody in this shoe knows that the highest officer in this land is the sheriff, and he can execute any judgment coming from a court. So all you folks have to do is don't establish common law courts in a trailer in the middle of the woods somewhere. You got a public building. It's called the courthouse downtown. Make a claim for the court that you're going to use it a half an hour a week, 15, 20 minutes a week. You make a claim for it. Because there's a private organization occupying it now. Just because the Bar Association goes to the library at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they fill up that public library with lawyers and clerks and everybody else, and they take up every stinking seat in the library, and they're manipulating every freaking book and computer in that library, still doesn't mean that we don't have the right to access that public library. So, like I said to Jan Marie, they leave for lunch, take over the computers, take over the desks, bring all your buddies in, take it all in, and occupy it. But do it in a lawful manner. It's a public building. They can't tell you.
Yeah, I've got another point on that. A common law court session can be held at a fence post under a tree, can be held in a grocery store, can be held at a sidewalk. It doesn't have to be in a building.
Well, when our common law courts run overtime at 12:45, and so we're going to be probably busy with this case until 1, 2 o'clock, Mr. Bar Association guys, why don't you go outside behind the picnic table, behind a tree, and conduct your statute courts out there for a little while. We're going to be occupied here for a little while. Sorry that we're running on a little long, but you know how it goes. You can take your private organization, your private club, and you can take your private club out of this public building, and you could do it in a parking lot somewhere. We're busy here. We're conducting the public's business in a public building. You want to conduct your private business elsewhere? God bless you. I know you make tons of money. There's an empty warehouse down the street. Call it a court. We don't care what you call it. But this is a public building, and we're accessing it. And we're going to use it to the fullest benefits of the people of this community find that it's necessary and proper to conduct the affairs of the people. There you go. Don't let them run you out of a public building. There's some lawyer making tons of money being run out of public libraries because he won't take a bath. So when they run him out of the public library, he sues. He's making a living going around all the states in this country doing that. Just because you want to hold a court in a public building, you have every right to do that. They might not like it. Let them throw you out of the building. Soon.
Now, I've got another completely different view to look at this, too. Karl, you've never worked for Walmart, have you?
No, my wife did, but no. Yeah, my ex-wife did, yeah.
You've never worked for Walmart. Does any of the rules and regulations in that Walmart employee handbook apply to you?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Now, is the United States a private company?
It could be and could not be. They run two sets of books.
A.K.A. Virginia Company.
They run two sets of books, just like you and I do. We run two sets of books. Everybody runs at least two sets of books.
Yeah. Now, the private company, State of Michigan, or the private company, County of Crawford, their rules, regulations, employee handbook does not apply to me no more than Walmart's does. Why do their policy enforcers come after me, and why do I consent to them? The only reason is it's fear of physical injury.
Well, either that or you believe there's like a Hobbesian belief that we have a social contract within a society that we agreed to join. If we didn't like it, we could go move on Gilligan's Island and start our own society and operate on our own rules and drive 900 miles an hour backwards on Gilligan's Island.
Oh, that would be inhabiting the land then, wouldn't it? Because the system that's in place now, Admiralty Maritime, is 2 inches above the land. That's the sea above the sea, the land above the land.
Well, this is what I'm trying to say. If we just go, like I said, we just make you're in Michigan, so this is really important to you if you can understand this simple concept. You could drive a couple of hours, and you go from common law to English common law to Napoleonic Code back to English common law in a couple-hour drive to the coast. If you take along Queens Highway, Queens Expressway up in Canada. You're moving through all different kinds of laws that are the supreme law of that land. So if you believe that you're stuck in some sort of admiralty maritime law, if you're in Michigan, well, it's common law. So if you want to believe that you're trapped in some sort of admiralty code world, you're not.
I actually had the United States Coast Guard attending a civil court case with me last year. I had approached them in Bay City, Michigan, at the U.S. Coast Guard station they got there. I went in there and I talked to one of the officers, and I asked them to assist me in arresting a maritime lien. Now, for them to show up to a civil court case, they would have to have orders from up high. They showed up. In fact, they showed up a couple times to this court case with me.
Where did you file the lien?
I handed all the infant status paperwork I've got over to the Coast Guard. I exposed the entire system of how these courts are operating to the Coast Guard. I asked them for assistance in arresting a maritime lien for being placed against my estate because I am not a decedent.
Okay, where did you file this lien?
Right at the Coast Guard station.
Okay, so you filed it at the Coast Guard station. And who did you file this lien against?
I filed it against the 74th District Court. And the only way the Coast Guard was able to show up is because it's all admiralty maritime law.
Okay, so you filed it against the United States, or you filed against a district court?
Yes, a private company.
Okay, and you had some sort of proof that they were a private company?
Yes.
And what did you establish the fact that they were a private company?
Under the Article 55 of the Hague, 2 through 38 of the Labor Code.
Okay, I mean,
treaty. They're under treaty to occupy the paper world only. The Bar Association's under treaty.
Okay, well, in the state, you would have to go through the Secretary of State's office to show where it was chartered to operate as a commercial entity or a business.
That's under Public Acts 230 and 231.
Okay, regardless of numbers, because I don't whip out numbers, I tell folks, go down to the Secretary of State, and she will pull out a document and show you when that business was incorporated within that state's, jurisdiction, within the borders of that state. So
it's using the same material that was used with Dr. Jack Kevorkian against the city of Pontiac under a quo warranto.
Okay, that's lovely. I mean, what I'm trying to say is this is very simple. You took a lien to the Coast Guard, and you said that this private corporation known as a district court had done you harm?
Yes.
Okay, what was the harm?
The harm was them holding a lien against my estate without me being a decedent.
Okay, so you believe that where was the lien? Wasn't the lien in the county recorder's office?
Yes, that was a summons that was mailed to me to appear in court with the charges listed on it.
Okay, a summons is just a right for just a court clerk granting somebody the right to force you physically to appear. That's all a summons is. So the clerk of the court believed whoever filed a lien on your property, you said?
Yes, against my estate. My estate includes everything that has to do with me.
That's what I'm trying to say. But some people include the estate means your physical carcass.
That could be my physical carcass. That could be my land. That could be the book I got sitting on a shelf next to my computer. It could be anything. That's all my estate.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is you and I know estate actually means our carcass of flesh and blood. Some people might actually be thinking you're just talking about a house. So are you saying that they placed a lien on your tangible chattel property? Or are you talking also about the intangible property?
My tangible property.
Okay, so everything that they could acquire by, say, like a writ of attachment and put in a warehouse somewhere?
They applied a bond against me that could be turned into a warrant. That is a direct attachment to my estate.
Were they also claiming to attach your physical body and put it in a prison cell, jail cell somewhere? Were they also going for that?
Correct. That would be manstealing.
Okay, so that's what they were. That's okay.
Every violation of every state statute is nothing but a maritime lien of some kind or another. When one of the policy enforcers try to catch you not stopping at a stop sign, they write you a ticket for it, that's a maritime lien.
Okay, so they were trying to lien your estate, which actually means taking every single thing as far as you believe is proper to you and exclusive to you, including your body.
The $20 for my pocket is my estate.
Okay, so you went to the Coast Guard because you believe the Coast Guard operates under maritime law.
Correct.
Okay, so you believe that you could turn your estate over to the Coast Guard and trust them to do the proper thing.
No, I did not. The Coast Guard enforces laws against piracy in Admiralty Maritime jurisdiction.
When you go before a court, I'm taking my claim and I'm turning it over to the jury, right? And I want the jury to hear the matter, and I want the jury to decide the matter, and I want the jury to make a determination what is proper to do with my claim, right?
Yes, you are making the jury the trustee over your estate.
So I am turning my estate over to the jury.
That is correct.
That's right. So what I'm saying is, how do you believe that when you made a claim that somebody was doing you wrong, that you were not transferring your estate over to the Coast Guard?
Coast Guard was not making a decision for me on any of my finances, my estate, or nothing. What I'm saying is, you were asking for their assistance. You were requesting, or you were pleading, or you were begging to them to aid you, right? I asked them for aid to stop pirates from attacking me.
There you go. So you're at the mercy of the Coast Guard.
Oh, I can take it into my own hands, but I'm going through proper channels allowing them to do it.
Right. But you were at their goodwill or their good faith or bad faith. They could have helped you or not helped you.
Correct. But they couldn't take from me.
Because you could not control what something else was doing to you, you went and sought aid from another source.
Yes.
Okay. So this is what I'm trying to say. Is when you, like I said, when you try to move in the common law, all you have to do is submit your claim, beg, and plead to the jury. Or you could try to put your beliefs and faith in something called the Coast Guard. Or you could put your faith and trust and believe in something called a man in a black robe.
My point behind what I was doing was not on personal protection. The point behind what I was doing was an exposure.
Exposure? Exposure what? What are you talking about, exposure?
Exposure of how these courts are operating.
Okay, you're trying to expose how the courts operate. Okay, I thought you actually meant like a technical term. You just meant to bring it to light, to show that they were not with clean hands.
I had them so scared down in that courtroom that on my second appearance, when the Coast Guard attended, I didn't realize until afterward, but there was a Jesuit assassin that the judge brought in. His code name is R. Fisher. You translate that over, that means man fisher.
Okay, so the only problem is, though, when you're bringing in Admiralty Court, you're bringing in an Admiralty, you're trying to establish an Admiralty Court, you're saying, right?
No, the Admiralty Court's been there.
Okay, no, you're trying to move the Coast Guard because you believe they operate under Admiralty law, right?
The Coast Guard's the ones that enforce laws against pirates, aren't they?
No, I'm not guessing, agreeing, nothing. I'm just saying you are trying to evoke a Admiralty jurisdiction in that building, in that venue.
You could say that, yes.
Okay, this is what I'm trying to say. If we lived in a land where Admiralty law was the supreme law of the land, that sounds wonderful. So what you're always trying to do is you're trying to trump the other guy's jurisdiction. So if you're saying that this guy was moving under Michigan jurisdiction or Michigan statutory code or your local county code, does Admiralty trump Michigan statute code? Maybe. But what I'm saying, beyond a shadow of a doubt, there is no doubt in anybody's mind that when you look at uscourts.gov website and it says one sentence, all state courts are common law courts. It didn't say Admiralty. It didn't say statute courts. It didn't say constitutional courts. It said common law courts. So when you look at this evil monster called the United States, which I think they're just fine, but most of you folks who listen think they're an evil, horrible monster. If these evil monsters put that one sentence on their website in big letters, all state courts are common law courts, guess what? I am going to master common law. If it said all state courts are Admiralty courts, I'm going to master Admiralty court. So when you folks are in Quebec or you folks are in France, it says all courts are Napoleonic courts. I'm going to master the Napoleonic code. I have family that lives over in Europe, in Germany and France. They're not all sitting in jail. They operate under pure statute code. They all know they're guilty until they can prove themselves innocent. It's completely backwards, like that Amanda Knox lady in Italy. Her family said this is upside down. My daughter has to prove she wasn't in that house that day, or in that apartment that day. She has to prove she didn't kill him. She has to prove, she has to find witnesses that could show that she was someplace else. They said this is obscene. No, it's code. You're working on the Napoleonic code world, and this is what their society believes is best. Thank God our society doesn't believe it's best. That's exactly what I said to the marshals. Thank God our society doesn't live under that ridiculous belief. that we're presumed guilty until we could be proven innocent. Like when you go to traffic court, you're presumed guilty until you could prove innocent. They're working more under the Napoleonic Code. They're working under the code. And this is the rules that they established for their traffic courts. Thank God we could always go back to the common law courts. If I could not find that simple sense that said all state courts are common law courts, I would not be concentrating on common law courts.
You know what stops it from being a common law court?
What? Other than a contract, what?
When the judge goes to walk in, when that bailiff says, all rise, if you look up in Black's Law 5th edition, the court rises when business is done for the day. When all rise and the judge walks in, the common law court stops, the administrative court starts.
The only problem is that man in the black robe, when you submitted your claim before the court, you established the rules of the court, that man in the black robe is a magistrate, and a magistrate only. Now, I could jump up and down and do the hula hoops. It doesn't matter what this clown does, because I already established the rules of this court. And that's how it eliminated all this habeas corpus nonsense, because there's no such thing as habeas corpus nonsense, because every judge now has to wear a different hat, depending on what is the claim of the complaint brought before the court. He has to be able to flip hats, whether it's equity, common law, maritime, admiralty, UCC, merchant law, statute staple. He's got to flip hats like a magician. So as long as you establish that that is your court from 1 o'clock until 2 o'clock, and this is the matter that's before this court, the judge is going to say, okay, I read the claim or I read the complaint. I've seen you both been sworn in. Let me put on my common law hat here. Hang on, folks. I got one under the desk. Whoop. Here we go. Common law hat.